Good evening. This is the Town of Auburn, Massachusetts Fire Station Building Committee meeting for October 6th, 2025 at 6 p.m. Calling the meeting to order. Unfortunately, one of our prime presenters isn't here yet, so we are going to go into a recess for approximately 15 minutes or so until he arrives. So we'll be back after as soon as we're out of recess.
Talking to the wrong body.
But they don't want to hear that.
No, I know they don't.
Same argument over and over again.
You say to some of the petitioners, have you read your petition? Have you thought this through?
Supposedly we made safe harbor, so for 2 years, we're good.
We all set?
All set.
Okay. We're all set.
Oh, you ready to go?
Yep.
I'm just gonna
Wait a sec, please.
No problem.
give us a splash screen so we look official.
Exactly 15 minutes. See, look at that.
Have to wait until I reset things, okay?
No problem.
But yeah, talking about people not realizing what they're putting in. There's one for the town to adopt a road, and apparently nobody realized it till they were discussing the meeting, that if the town approves it, the town charges them all to bring it up to code. So if the town adopts it, they're on the hook as a neighborhood for like $1 million.
Yeah, that's because the town got snookered on a bunch that they took over.
But yeah, so they're supposed to have like a separate meeting with all those residents to be like, you do realize if this gets approved, like
Okay,
you're still paying
all
for it.
set?
Okay. We've got our participants here, so we're ready to get going. The first order of business is the public comment. Seeing none, we'll move on to the next one. Review of the meeting review and approval of the last meeting minutes. They were sent out to everybody. Any questions, comments, corrections on those meeting minutes? Okay. Entertain a motion to accept those or approve those meeting minutes.
So moved.
And
Second.
And a second. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? It's approved. Next up is Tecton's update. Architect Matt.
Good evening, everybody. I've got just a few things to go over. First, last week we had internal coordination meeting with the fire department, went over a number of things related to access control, security, and video surveillance. So we went through basically all the doors, determined which ones were going to be access controlled, which ones were going to be keyed. We went through all the security points throughout the building on what needs to have video surveillance coverage. Video surveillance in a fire station is a twofold thing. One, site safety and security, so making sure the building is secure and has adequate coverage at entrances and around the perimeter. There's often times when there's a major event and most of the station gets emptied out and there's nobody there to sort of watch it. So we want to make sure that there's eyes in the building. The second is for internal safety and security. So there's some areas where we're putting cameras that you may not expect, like on the apparatus bay floor, in the gym, things like that. Those are for personnel safety. So if somebody's on the fire floor and falls while they're working on one of the trucks, trips while they're responding to a call, then gets hit by one of the vehicles exiting, we want to make sure we have adequate coverage of that. Same thing within the fitness area. We want to make sure that we know that somebody's going in there or not, so that if they're in there working out by themselves and have a cardiac event or something like that, that we can make sure that somebody's got eyes on them and knows what's going on. In addition to that, we also placed panic alarms in a few strategic locations around the building, sort of as a belt and suspenders, so everybody that's in the building and working there is safe. And if there ever is a medical emergency or something like that, it's easy to call for help. This coming Thursday, in a few days, we have our round 2 of technology, where we're going to do a deep dive into radio communications for the building, the station alerting system, and things like that. And we'll give you an update once we finish that meeting. A couple of other housekeeping items. There was a request a few meetings back to look at some of the exterior samples. So I have some of the initial samples that we're looking at here. So we can pass those around. This first one is what we're thinking of for the brick. We had shown the fire department a similar sample of this that had less of what's called a range.
Excuse me,
So-
Matt, would you talk into one of the microphones or? Thank you.
One of the ones we initially showed was a simplified version of this, so it didn't have what's called a range in the brick. So the way brick is a natural kiln-fired material, and depending on how close those bricks are, they're sort of in a big stack, and then they go into a kiln and get fired. Depending on how close they are to the flame element, it changes the look of the brick. So ones that are sort of on the outside close to the flame get black, a little blackened. It's called flash. And so this is more of what's called a full range. It has more of a range of reds to grays to blacks and things like that. So it gives you a little bit more depth, a little more of a classic New England style brick look. Some alternative materials we've been discussing is looking at possibly ground face block in some of the areas like the apparatus bays. Just so we haven't selected a color for that alternative look, but just so that people have a sense of what this material looks like. I'll just pass one chip around, and I have 2 boxes of the different color options these come in, so there's quite a wide range. I think what's appropriate for this building is something in a gray or a neutral type tone. I don't think we're going to do the copper green stain one. But sometimes when we talk about what ground face block is or split face and things like that, it sort of gets lost on folks. So this is essentially, you don't have any here, but like in schools and things like that, you'll see the painted concrete block. This is similar, where they take that same concrete block and they grind it smooth, and so that's the finished product. So that gets set by a mason. Similar material cost to that of brick, but it comes in a 4-inch deep by 8 by 16-inch module. So the labor on site is what gives you your cost savings there.
Matt, where exactly would that go? Where,
This is an alternative material that we were talking about instead of brick for around the apparatus bays.
Okay.
And I'll show you some renderings of what that may look like. Alternatively to ground face, there's a couple of other options they make. One that you're probably very familiar with seeing is split face. So that's where they make a double unit basically, and they take a hammer and break it in the middle and turn it into 2 modules. So instead of it being the smooth polished finish, it's more jagged, more of a chiseled look to it. Sometimes, we might suggest that as some bands or some accent treatment just to sort of break up the field of the ground face. The next thing we were looking at, I'm not going to show this corrugated one, was looking at insulated metal panels, or IMPs, as well as trims and things like that around the building. This is essentially what the face of that material is, and then an IMP is basically that with a thickness of rigid insulation attached to it, and so it's one homogeneous unit, and then those get attached to Z-girts that attach to the backup. We ran an energy model on IMPs versus the brick that we have right now, and it's slightly better performing, which is good because we're sort of a pretty robust envelope, and we're still kind of right on the edge of compliance with the energy code. Fairly restrictive with the latest update. That comes in a variety of standard colors. Again, we would suggest something in a neutral or a gray tone to complement the building. We can also do a custom color for just a minor upcharge. Depending on the run that we're doing is where the cost gets into that. But so that's a little bit about just the materials that we're looking at for the exterior. Any questions on that? Any comments?
this was around the window area? Is that what we were talking about, or is this just?
This was one, we were looking at one as a cost alternative material around the apparatus phase. And then the second being an alternative in lieu of the fiber cement paneling as something that's a little bit more durable.
Okay.
So this can do both. So next I'll jump into the renderings, and I wanted to bring this image up. This is sort of where we were at the last time we had met. The one major difference between this rendering and where we are today is we reduced that rear stair tower back here, so that we don't have this large box mass on the back of the building anymore either. So we have like 8 different options to go through. Some of them are just different colors and things like that. So, and then we had talked last meeting about just doing the back of the building, but when we started looking at it, it made sense to think about the apparatus bay as a mass, as something that we should maybe treat the front and back separately. We could certainly keep it brick and change it just in the back, but we wanted to show you the front elevation as well, just so you can consider that. So this is looking at basically a simple replacement of the brick area in the apparatus bays on what I'm going to call the lower masses. So we've got a couple of 3 tower elements related to the bays, this piece over the radio room, and then the corners at the mechanics bay. In some options, we kept those towers. In other options, we made it just sort of one continuous elevation that wraps the bays. So this one looks at taking the brick on the lower portion of it and replacing it with a gray ground face CMU, and then leaving the panels up above. So again, this was what we had initially rendered as the fiber cement panels as a board and batten. This could also be achieved with the insulated metal panel as well. And this is a view as we come around the back. So repeating the same detailing here at the rear of the apparatus bays. This is that tower at the mechanics bay, front and back, and then there's the field in between it that we would also suggest keeping that same language and replacing it with the ground face CMU. You can see back here the simpler mass of the stair tower. It used to be kind of up here, so now we've brought that down about 12 feet. Option 2, same concept. This is just looking at, instead of a gray ground face block, this is more of a red tone. Going past this with the brick. So the idea with this one is going to a lower cost option from the brick, but still keeping something that's somewhat complementary to the brick. So that's why I kind of want to pass it around with brick, the physical brick samples themselves.
So Matt, just to be clear, you're saying brick would be throughout the whole front of the building besides where the apparatus is. That's where that.
Correct. So the pinker, right here and right here would stay the brick, and then the field in between them would go to the ground face in the red. And then again, as we come around to the back, same concept. Option 3, this is looking at the insulated metal panel. So this is, again, the same concept, keeping the tower elements as they are, and then going with a fairly simplified insulated metal panel. These things, they come like between like 2'6" and 42 inches wide, and the economy of them is getting a single run all the way up. Like, so you're increasing a little bit of cost in the material. Cost per square foot for the material is a little bit more expensive, but you're saving a ton of cost and time on site. And so this is looking at full height, running them all the way up to the top of the parapet in this concept. And then here it is around the back. And again, the return along the mechanics bay, doing it there as well.
Can you go back one, please?
Yep.
Yeah, just not a fan of changing the materials on the outside corner, on that far tower by the mechanics bay. Yeah, so you got the gray, it goes from gray to the reddish
Yep.
on the outside corner. I think it would look nicer if the red returns to the inside.
That's a straight.
Oh, that, okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Yep.
Returns
Oh,
on,
yeah,
returns on the north side.
yeah, yeah, that's it.
Through the chair, okay, how do those panels attach to the structure, okay, and how resilient are they to rust and deterioration over time?
So it's a pre-finished, Kynar finished aluminum, so they won't rust. And the Kynar finish is like an anodized or like a powder coated finish, so it's pretty robust. It lasts quite a while, and because it's aluminum, it won't rust.
No, it oxidizes.
If exposed to salt and things like that, we wouldn't run them all the way down to the ground. So we'd have a ground face block or a split face block or precast concrete base, like 2'8", 2'10", and then do the metal panels with a water table up above, so that they're not going to get impacted as much. For their attachment, there's basically like a clip system on the back of it that attaches to a Z-girt. So that's basically like a metal channel that attaches back to the structure. And they just clip them and hang them on.
Or they're actually a tongue and groove that tie into each other. And the one that goes on first, then you have fasteners, concealed fasteners that go in to those Z-girts, and then the next one comes in over top of it with the sealant and everything else, and it's all hidden.
Yeah. So if you drive by a lot of like warehouse buildings and things like that, like newer ones, you'll see something like this where it's just the smooth panel with a joint every 42 inches or so. And because they're basically spray foam on the back of it that's sprayed into the back side of the panel, that actually helps stiffen up that metal. So the metal that you're passing around here will be reinforced by that insulation. So it's pretty thick and robust now to take an impact. When the insulation is behind it, it's even more stiff.
Yeah, and the inside's covered with metal too.
Right.
So it's a finished inside. So like in the apparatus bays, you'd look at the backside, be a finished metal panel on the backside.
Yeah, that's the well in this case, because of the bays, we're not having like structural, like we're not having exposed columns and things like that. So like right now it's all block backup.
That's
So
true,
this
yeah.
would go onto the block. But yeah, so when you do it on like a pre-engineered metal building, it's the interior finish, it's the exterior finish, it's a soup to nuts all in one system.
Matt, what are you using to break up? I see those lines going, the vertical lines in between the two bays. What is that?
That's just the panel joints. So it's a panel to panel. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know if that was a different material or not. So
Mm-hmm.
this rendition is just all straight
Yeah.
metal panels.
So this is option 4. This, we take away the two tower elements and just run it all the way around the insulated metal panel. You see here on the front and then on the back. So it ends up being like almost like a pre-engineered metal building on the back side there. And so this is more in line with that very first option with the gray ground face block and the insulated metal panel rivet band around the top, and again taking away the two tower elements on the corner. So this is sort of a combination of 1 and 4. And back around to the back side. Option 6 is the same concept, but again with that red rendered ground face block. This is another option where we look at getting rid of the top element, but it's all the gray ground face without the band along the top of the insulated metal panel. And again, as well in the red. So we're sort of going from most complex to least complex as we make our way through the options. Any comments? That's all the options I have. Any comments or questions? Anything resonate with anybody?
Through the chair, Matt, these are only options if we are looking to reduce the cost potentially and not, I mean, we could put it out to bid as the project was already warranted, because we do believe it's gonna come in under bid, under budget. With that, we don't have to pick something now.
You don't. I would say it's prudent to always protect yourself against the gamble when you're bidding. So I wouldn't suggest a prudent approach being, let's go with the assumption that we're going to get favorable bids that are well under budget. I think we should continually look at ways to improve the budget or protect it as we develop estimates and receive those, right? So we've got our first gut check estimate that we just ran. That was off of a really early set of drawings and specifications. We're going to have a more robust one going to our estimators next Friday. I don't think we need to sit here and say, let's cut and slash, but I think we should start considering where the prudent trimmings may be as we further refine those estimates. I don't want to go and put drawings out on the street to bid with $3 million bust in the budget and cross our fingers and hope we're going to get there. I think we should go into a bid with a little bit more confidence. This is the first step in that refinement process that we're going to go through over the next 4 or 5 months. And so I want to get the wheels spinning in everybody's head as to where we feel the right approach would be, right? So if something here is a lower cost option that resonates and is something that's acceptable, we should start moving towards that. If we want to pump the brakes and say, whoa, let's look at aligning value savings elsewhere, then we table this until we we're more confident that we have a problem with the budget or not.
Do we have to pick one when we go out to bid, or can we go out to bid with alternate options in the bid?
So if we were to go down the alternate route, let's say, we're between this one and this one, that's reasonable, where we're just saying, here's a metal, here's a brick. Let's look at the two. But when we get into like an alternate where the tower elements go away or not, that's a lot more complicated. We're dealing with many different trades that are impacted by that, and that level of complexity is going to lead to poor alternate pricing.
So I guess what I was looking at is we have an option 0, which is brick all the way around as originally designed. Can we then have a option 1 that is one of these that if we want to include it, that we could get bids on both? Like if we do it all brick, it's going to be this cost. If we do it with metal panel or whatever we would decide, it'll be this other cost, and then that can happen at bid time, or is this something we have to pick one?
I think some of the stuff we're going to have to pick earlier, because certainly if you go brick and then you go to metal panel, you got very much different backup systems and stuff, so that's a whole nother set of drawings. I think Joe was explaining at the last meeting that, as we get to the DD sets, we're going to be refining in and pulling that budget in tighter, so we should have a better understanding. I think right now they're getting a field of these are options that we could pursue and get values out there.
Yeah, I think Matt's main mission too is to make adjustments to the building that doesn't affect the department's program. Like we don't want to do any alternates affecting any kind of program whatsoever. What the department has, like in their needs. So we're just looking at exterior and finishes and things like that may, like to your point, will save with the labor costs and and the material and all that good stuff. So
I think just as a blanket statement for me, I don't want us to stray too far off the traditional look that we went to vote on, to the public. They saw that sort of traditional red brick looking building. That's what they sort of had in their mind when they cast yes votes. To me, something like this looks like a Jiffy Lube, and I think we'd get a lot of blowback from the public of like, this is, not in fitting with the character of what people envision. Now, go to one of the other options like 2 or 6 where you have, more color match,
Yeah.
even with an alternate.
What are your what is the committee's thoughts on the relation to these two materials? Like what they would, I mean, that's the whole front of the building with this style,
Yeah.
or not the whole front of the apparatus with this.
I'll give, option one I didn't think was bad. If you're gonna do a contrast, it still shows the towers, it defines where the apparatus bays are. You've got, a couple different materials there, which seem to be some cost-saving materials, if I'm reading correctly.
Yep.
I didn't like it when we went to try to use that reddish material that was gonna somehow connect with the real brick. That sort of seemed kind of wonky. So I guess as an alternate, that the first one you showed, that one I guess would be my preference if we were looking at a place to start discussions from. Obviously, the first option 0 being the all brick, but if we had to put some alternative materials in, I think that's the right idea aesthetically and.
For me, I like the architectural detail of having something different along the top, having the towers, stand out. I think whether that's the gray or the red, or you pick some other color, black or something. I don't know. Right. But I think that is probably more in line with what people are expecting, at least on this side. The back side, I don't think too many people will see, but, versus the ones where we're going like metal panel, floor to ceiling.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Like
you're
that.
saying I don't know where the gray one, like a gray, Matt, could you technically do that red with a gray all the way up instead of having metal? You know what I mean? To break up that.
Well, that's what
Is that
that's a
what
great
that is?
gray ground face
Oh, it is.
block.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
Okay.
The one he's showing right now.
That's understood. Yeah.
Yeah,
Where
but
were you
yeah,
saying?
yeah, so-
Where were you saying black along with the metal panels? Or the,
Oh, you just throw a
I'm
black.
just throwing out other.
Just throwing another color.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Alright.
I know you're not a fan of trying to color match with the red. I think I don't know what choices are available to sort of complement the brick.
The darker ones, the grays, the dark grays, the blacks in the ground face, they look really nice installed.
Yeah. So really, but I'm not opposed to, like, okay, we want to save something without having to make a lot of major concessions. Going with an alternate material there in that space, I think, is the logical way to do it. I do like the detail of leaving the tower, leaving the the top of the bays, some sort of vertical like that.
yeah, it matches well with the windows that are on the other side of
Gives
the
it
tower.
contrast too,
Yeah.
which is nice. Yep.
Can you go to the next view that shows the side and the rear? Yeah, on the left side here, would that be the gray block as well? Right there.
Yep.
Yes.
It matches this detail.
So I think it would look better if what's on the door side carries around for all 3 sides. I think that kind of anchors that side rather than have the material change yet again
Yeah.
on the end.
So keep that brick. You're saying keep that.
Or
left
would,
side.
yes,
The back tower,
yeah, the back tower, like all 3 sides would be
or the mechanics bay tower, I think is what he's talking about.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, you're saying
On the
okay,
back
so-
side.
So the front side facing the street, keep that brick from the.
And keep the side brick as well.
He's saying just keep the
Oh.
whole
The
mechanic
tower
bay all
one,
brick.
keep the tower
All
wall
three
material.
sides.
Yeah.
That's where all the savings are in that one
I
elevation.
was gonna say that's a huge space of brick. Yeah.
Yeah.
To the chair, I'm a brick kind of guy, okay, but without knowing what the delta is between the differences in materials, it's really kind of difficult to make a choice.
That's a great question. I can tell you what that is. So that it's about 103,000 ballpark dollars in savings for this.
Yeah, option 1.
Matt, is it fair to say that if you didn't touch the three sides like we are, then it's not really worth breaking it up? Like you said, that one return wall there's a lot of space there, a lot of square footage.
Yeah, that's like 2/3 of the square footage.
Yeah, so I guess what I'm saying is to the committee, if we don't do it kind of like this, it's not really worth altering or getting away from the brick
Yeah.
completely. Right?
What
Yeah,
is
I
that?
mean, this option, we're still saying with masonry units, it's just going to a bigger size and a different color.
Right.
So you still have the durability of masonry, but it's just a different
It-
format. to
And
save some
there's
money.
there's an economy of scale here too. I mean, there's a lot of masonry in this building, inside and out. And the more masonry, like you start to get into that funny area that the estimator can't really take off. Of if we say it's the same cost dollar per square foot to go to the insulated metal panel here, you probably end up don't realizing the savings in this small area because the mason's gonna increase their costs a little bit because there's just the more you can have on one project through one trade, the better the economy of scale becomes. And it's kind of a nebulous thing that's hard to take off.
On the site plan, where does that return face? Like what?
Which one?
That's north, right?
That's north, so it's facing toward the parking lot, or facing toward the Veterans Park.
Right.
And that's your driveway coming around. I mean, it's going to be shielded by the park and the trees that are there and stuff. And it's your main driveway in and out of for employees and fuel trucks and propane trucks and everybody.
I don't think it's going to be that shielded.
No, it's
There's a roadway and then
Yeah, but you're
back
sitting
area.
you're sitting so far off of Prospect Street to begin with for the apparatus apron, so you can swing in and turn around and come. It's sitting back a lot further than you think it is.
You can't really see the site from Prospect. From Southbridge Street.
because you're going to be behind the Dunkin'.
That's what the Dunkin's reference. How close to the drive-through?
Well-
How far back is that? Is it?
Yeah.
And the park is up on a knoll too.
Right.
So as you're driving coming down Prospect from Southbridge Street, you've got a rise in the earth there that's going to be shielding that. Plus you're a lot further back than a normal building would be on the facing of the street.
The only reason I ask is outside of the scope of this project, I have seen brick murals done as memorials, as features, and that it would have to be fundraised
I was going to say
to do something, but I don't know if that facing gives you any worthwhile place to put a mural or something, right? That you would want on there because you are facing the park to some degree. That's the only thing that was crossing my mind, and it doesn't have to be. Obviously it's outside the scope of this project.
But if the apparatus bay side and the doors are that masonry color, and then you have the brick, at the tower, and then you've got the masonry all down, the ground face block all the way down the side. It's tying together. It's not like it's.
Yeah, no. I was just
And like I said, you
thinking of an opportunity.
It is further off the road than you would anticipate.
Yeah.
So you don't pick it up as much, and it's canted to the way the road's coming down on you.
Yeah. Make it smooth concrete and somebody can paint it.
Okay. So I guess we'll marinate on these for a little bit.
Matt, do you think on one of the future meetings you could use the darker? You mentioned like the
I like the dark gray, black.
dark gray, the blacker. She said that.
Sure.
I'm just curious how it'll look with the the doors and the frames and the.
If you want to see what it looks like installed, we did it in the corridors for Sutton's PD.
Matt, if you did do the darker brick, would that would you also color or try to color match that metal up top? Or would you keep it that lighter gray?
Don't know.
Or go full black.
It's a question for the designer. He's got a better sense in that. My wife doesn't even let me pick paint colors. One other thing I wanted to, I have a VE log that I want to run through. One other thing before I run through that is I just had a meeting with my civil engineer on the preliminary results for the flood study. And so far it looks like we're able to push the line of the floodplain all the way down to the lower elevation like we had anticipated. So that's good news.
Awesome.
So I think that was money well spent. Somewhere I have a pile of handouts. Do you have that? Is that over there, Connor?
Yep.
I printed you guys out something that I'm going to pull up on the screen here just because you won't be able to read it.
No, I'll look at his. Thank you.
So, like we said, we're not here to make slashes and cuts today to the budget, but we want to start identifying what our priorities are in terms of value engineering so that we can start balancing that up against estimates going forward and documenting those values so that we can refine it. So what I did is I've outlined 24 or so items. These are looking at kind of larger scopes within the design of the project. And what you'll see is, so the first column is just a reference number letting you know what alternate or value engineering item it is. The next column is a description of the item. We then have our quantity takeoff on some of these items from the estimate. And what the estimate had shown indicated for a cost per square foot. And these are net cost per square feet. So that's the raw number, and then the contractor has all the markups that go on top of that. So every dollar that we remove, that we sort of trim from here, is sort of like 30 times or 1.3 times that when it actually results in the budget. Next column is your unit. So if it's dollars per square foot, it says square feet. The value next to that is the estimated total value for that item from the schematic design estimate. And then the next columns are about doing adjustments. So say, as an example, alternate 19, reduce EV-ready parking spaces. The initial quantity in the estimate says there were 26 carried. I reduced that down to 20 and multiply that by the unit cost. It results in $31,000 in savings. That makes sense? Guess follow my logic there. So the savings value is in the adjusted cost line. The column next to that that's called priority, that's where we're going to sort of make some adjustments today. I've added there's a line called adjustment. So that means I've taken the liberty and said that's something we're doing. It's something that I saw in the estimate that probably isn't something we want to have in the project, and I'm going to put that adjustment in there that'll reduce the budget down. Priorities 1 through 5, we get to determine what those are as a group. 1 being, let's do that. 5 being, unless there's absolutely no way we can afford the project, that's the last thing we want to touch. And so we want to give it 5 as the lowest priority. And then there's one last one for add, and that's where things would be an add to the project that aren't in the budget currently. So if you look back up at the screen, what this will end up doing is it'll tally into my project budget spreadsheet. So this is our construction budget as it currently sits. Those value engineering adjustments and value engineering priorities will tally, and then they'll come up with new costs for construction based on the level of priority. So this line here says priority 1 is adjustments plus the things that are no-brainers that we absolutely are saying, yes, let's proceed with that value engineering item. Then if we want to move down to priority 2 for the next most important thing, it adds priority 3, 4, and 5. And so 5 would be sort of your maximum value engineering value. Now, based on the estimate, if we go all the way through priority 5, exclude the adds, it puts us $1.5 million, $2 million under budget, give or take. So that allows us some wiggle room. And again, we don't need to wholesale say, let's make cuts today. This is just so we can start establishing the priority. This is us getting the conversation going, and it's a continual process as we continue to build out the project. That makes sense?
Yep.
All right.
Anybody else have questions?
Speaking on behalf of everyone.
Sorry. Makes sense to me. But
So the first four here are ads. So I just wanted to start getting round numbers in people's heads for some of these things. So one thing we did is there were some conversations earlier on about the HVAC system. We were looking at, as the most robust system is going with an electric heat pump. But we wanted to protect the budget. So we did a gas-fired boiler for the heating system. And we had our estimator provide an alternative cost to go with an electric heat pump system. That ad was $884,000 to go to a heat pump. I think he's high on that number, on that assumption. We're going to continue to refine that, but it's a big number.
Mm-hmm.
The next one below that was looking at changing the metal panel cladding. Changing the fiber cement board and detailing that we have along that top band and around the backside of the building to metal panel. My estimator gave us a cost of $376,000 for that ad to go from fiber cement to metal panel. He told me the cost per square foot he was carrying for that was between $85 and $110 per square foot. I know you don't believe him on that. I don't believe him on that. I've seen other numbers that are closer between 40 and 50 bucks a square foot. So, like I said, I'm going to continue to refine that. I think that number is going to come down.
Yeah.
The committee requested that we look at a granite stone base in lieu of cast stone. That was an ad of $69,000. We are carrying in our base assumptions that we are going to do exposed propane tanks, so above grade propane tanks. If we wanted to bury those below the ground, it would be an ad of $100,000. So the next big ticket item for value engineering, this is the cost to omit the mechanics bay in its entirety. It is our estimator gave us a value of $627,000 if we eliminated that bay. I've talked to the fire department about it. It's almost a non-starter, but I had to put it in there. Because when the shit hits the fan and it comes down to buying a mechanics bay or buying a building, we may have to make that decision at some point.
5 is the correct priority there, unless you can double it or triple it and go to 10 or 15 in terms of options. Yeah. That's probably the last thing that we would want to consider.
Yep.
Matt, before we go beyond in the discussions, back to the propane tanks, is it simply an aesthetics thing for burying them? Is there any safety, security, functionality by having them not out and about?
There's certainly something to be said about security of burying your propane tanks. They can't be tampered with by the public or something like that. Somebody, can't aim a gun and take a shot at them or whatever. So there's always risk any piece of equipment that you have exposed. It's going to be in the back of the site. It's going to be within the staff side of it. It's going to have cameras on it and things like that. That would really be the only risk. There's no real risk in performance or anything like that. But there's a lot that goes into burying those tanks. We have to ballast them. There's the excavation of the material, getting the soil off site. It's a deeper excavation, so there's a lot that goes into burying them.
What do you put over the top of them when you bury them? Is it just a
Depends.
cement? Oh.
Yeah, if it's in a drive aisle, then we would probably cement and stuff like that.
'Cause I was gonna say, you'd be able to add parking spots at that point, no? Could you park on top? That's my question. That's where I was going with it.
You could, but I think we have enough site to work with where it wouldn't be.
Yeah.
It wouldn't make a difference.
right now we have them positioned, they're they're all off the site, off a parking area.
Yeah, kind of everything. Everything is sort of going to live in this zone right here.
Yeah, because originally those were spots, right? I think way back when.
At one point, yeah.
We were doing the site layout.
What's the long-term maintenance difference? Having it buried versus,
Be easier to replace one that's not buried than one that is.
Yep.
I think a lot of us have probably experienced having to get a buried oil tank out of our yard and the costs associated with that. You don't have the same environmental concerns, but it's certainly more troublesome if there was something to happen, like a valve blew out or something like that in the wintertime, and you've got to take it out, out of frozen soil. Certainly a challenge there, but if it's above ground and something happens, you have to replace the tank. It's disconnect it, pull it out, put a new one in.
I assume it weathers more above ground though than it would buried? Or,
Yeah, but it shouldn't. It
Yeah,
shouldn't.
I mean,
You shouldn't have an issue with it for quite a long time.
okay.
So at West Street, in the last 20 years, we've had to excavate those tanks twice for various problems. So my opinion is if we have a utility space in that strip that allows us to keep them above ground and they're out of the way, I'm not opposed to that. I think those tanks will have to be replaced during the life of this station.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe even twice, so if we can keep them above ground and it's not gonna, they're gonna be fenced in, they'll be secured, I think to save whatever that $100,000 value, I think that's kind of the easy.
And if you did go electric heat pump, then you wouldn't need the tanks at all, or would you still need the?
We still need it for like the stove and things like that.
I guess the reason I'm sorry, through the chair.
No, go ahead.
My only concern is the fire station is going to be critical infrastructure stuff for the town, and I guess it would be, I don't know enough about propane and how far away, whether there was an accidental or an intentional catastrophic failure of those tanks and how big they would be, what that could do to the station, whether it would take that infrastructure out of service. That's my only, I don't know enough about propane tanks, one way or the other, that was.
It would, in the same sense that doing something malicious to the transformer would, right?
Well, it depends on the size of it. What size tanks are you proposing?
Off the top of my head, I don't know.
It depends on the size of the tanks, like the tanks alongside of like TJ Maxx, kind of those larger ones, those are like 1,000-gallon tanks. If there was a catastrophic event on those tanks, it's going to affect the building in some way. But the reality is that whether they are underground or not, that risk in some respects is still there.
Okay. That was, I just brought it up for that discussion point only.
And we're not, I doubt we're going to,
They vent to the top.
we're not going to be putting anything outrageous in size that's not a more readily available type of tank. These are, I imagine, if we do the 1,000-gallon tanks or whatever, I mean, those are pretty much like the standards they put in for the size of a building or something.
No, I understand. My
So
point
that you
is
can
that
get-
if TJ Maxx goes down because they have a catastrophic failure, that you
No,
don't buy your jeans. If we lose the fire, fire headquarters for
Yeah,
6 months, that's.
I hear you.
Well, we could eliminate propane on site completely. We can cook by electric,
We could.
heat water by electric. And we have solar, have heat pumps, so they could negate the whole need for.
But it's also, and right now, it's $900,000 add to the budget.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Save one.
utility costs are going to be a lot higher because you're using all electricity. So, you're on a different scale of what you're using for utilities and stuff. So
Yes.
not only equipment costs, but your long-term costs are going to be increased.
And I've never heard a firefighter tell me they want to cook with electricity. I cannot convince them to save my life. And you know what? You tell them that, the induction cooktops, they boil water faster than gas, and they go, how quickly we're going to break the glass on the top of that cooktop? Like that.
You don't want to cook by sticking the 2 electrodes into the hot dog and hitting it on the battery and just.
Don't give them ideas.
Yeah.
All right. We got a few more ads, and then we're getting all into trimmings here. So one was upgrading the apparatus bay metal deck. That's the structural metal deck that will formulate the ceiling to an acoustic metal deck. Basically, they perforate it, they insulate it. It gives a little, it quiets down the space a little bit. It's a big open hard space, so it does get a little echoey in there. $110,000 ad to do something like that. I don't think you're going to miss it.
Are there options to do something
Yes.
after the fact?
Yeah. Yeah, you can go in and you can spray it with like K13. You can go in and put acoustic panels up there. There's other options. If it's I don't think you're going to have a big deal. It's a big open space. It's not going to be that echoey in there.
Has the fire department got any feedback from you've been to a bunch of sites that have either done or not done? I mean,
Lexington had it in their headquarters, in their bay.
They did.
They did.
I had some pictures of that ceiling. I didn't notice it. Couldn't tell.
You wouldn't notice it from looking at it.
Okay.
Yeah. You'd have to get
Probably
close.
do it black
Well,
or
it
something.
looks
So
just like the corrugated from the bottom.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know, they all sounded the same to me.
Yeah.
Everywhere that we went in that had about the same sounds, same square footage, I didn't notice any difference.
I mean,
think
if you're
the biggest thing would be when calls go out with the alerting system, what that's going to sound like, but like the space itself to, ambient noise or, closing of
But-
doors or whatever, I don't think is going to be an issue.
I think as your calls go out and stuff, it's also somewhat on the actual sound system that's, you buy cheap speakers and everything else, it gets more tinny. If you buy, if you have a better system, you can take down a lot of that noise. And it becomes, it's really clear but loud.
Yeah. I don't think you'd have an issue with the alerting system or any of that either in there, to be
your
honest.
ceiling height is high enough that
Yeah. It's high ceiling. It's wide open.
I do see an item to lower the ceiling height. But
We'll get to that one. So this one, we've got a lot of standing seam metal roof around the mansard, around the perimeter and the front entry. This is identifying about $150,000 in savings to go to asphalt shingles. This is a good one if we're looking for lowest upfront costs and higher life cycle costs. It will cost you. You will pay for this within the life cycle of the metal roof, because you will go through at least two re-shingles in that same time frame. So this is.
we did skip the acoustic folding partition.
Oh,
But,
I'm sorry.
but just to stay on this one,
I put it as a 4.
I would almost suggest that's a 5, but because one of the selling points that we've tried to balance out is we want long-term maintenance to be low, right? So, we might be saving $150K, but you're going to be doing a new roof in 20 years or whatever, and it's going to cost another. I don't know what roofs are going to cost by then. I'll wait for Glenn to tell me what roofs cost. But I don't see where it's short-term savings for long-term expense.
I don't think you'll realize 150K either. I think that's rich.
Yeah.
Well, it goes back to changing the image too, if you go to asphalt roof.
Yep.
and what was approved.
So going back up to the one that you had mentioned, yeah. So the acoustic folding partition, I wanted to bring this one up. So there's $102,000 in value just in the partition itself. This doesn't realize the additional steel we need to provide to hold that up. There's a pretty big beam associated with that. Because we're dividing the room into two different presentation spaces, there's a lot of cost associated with the AV and technology packages that are going to go into that. Some of which will be part of the construction package, some of which will be part of FF&E with the technology budget. So if this, this may be closer to $175,000 in total value to allow that room to be dividable.
That would be motorized, right, that partition?
That's a manual one.
Manual.
Yeah, like panels, right? And they lock into each other.
Yeah, yeah, motorized would be even more.
Yep.
So this one gets down to, functionality of that space and, is the value, do you see the value there for how often you will be closing that room up? We could also take a couple of doors out, there's an exterior door that we wouldn't need. There's a door going to the vestibule that we didn't need. There's probably another 10 grand there.
So what are the options for partitioning other than a true certified acoustic panel? I mean,
Rolling chalkboards like we had in grade school.
yeah, no, I mean,
And we talked about it today a little bit. We don't think it's worth the cost to have it dividable. We also don't foresee ourselves using the space or letting the space be used by multiple agencies. We would just, if an outside person was gonna use it, it's their space if we don't need it, kind of thing. You agree?
Yeah, I guess my question was, what events or things would you envision that would ever need two simultaneous?
Well, it's just,
The original thought was, if it was, and who would have known that it would be $150,000? I think the original thought, if for short money, we were able to divide the space and we could book two sides of the space, that's great. But for this cost,
Yeah.
it's not worth it.
And you have the extra conference room off of there if you really needed
Yeah, we
to
talked about that.
subdivide.
And
So
even having the tech system for two sides of the rooms, we don't think that's necessary either. So the cost benefit on this just isn't worth it.
yeah, okay.
All right. The next one we get into is changing the brick at the rear of the building to the ground face block. So again, that's 102,000 in savings, in potential savings. Add to that the front of the building. So when I say the rear of the building, I'm talking the two sides that we looked at, that rear elevation and the elevation facing Prospect Street, and then we've got another 1,250 square feet of it at the front of the apparatus bays. So if we did them both to ground face block, this is getting to option one. Option one is around 134,000 in potential savings. I put the rear initially as a priority 2 and the front as a priority 3. You let me know if you think differently.
does the rear have, including that north side that we talked about, is that why there's so much more square footage there?
Yep.
yeah.
Okay, so that's actually like north.
Yeah,
and
you'll
west.
see. Yeah, if it was just the
Yes.
back, it would basically be the same as the front, the
Is there
1,250
any
square feet.
scenario where you wouldn't do all three sides of the apparatus with whatever non-brick option? I guess that's all I'm thinking, is like, if you're gonna do the back two, how, would you really keep the front brick? Would that look weird?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I think you'd have that's probably desirable. It keeps your brick look, and then as you're coming around the building, you're
Yeah.
dropping the level of it. Still masonry and everything, but
We could also look at some other considerations on this for the ground
you
face
could,
too.
you could
like-
take it further down on the back side of the.
Yeah, and we can do the rest of the
It
tower
just-
here. Yeah, this elevation. If we put a little pilaster here to stop the brick, and then change it here, and basically go all the way to the tower, we can look at that too.
Okay. Then I think I'm fine with the priorities then if you.
Yeah.
I think the only concern is I don't want the firefighter space. That's the space they're going to see and live and park and, be outside and work on equipment and whatever. I don't want that to look like a warehouse on the front looks like a high-end hotel. So
Yeah.
I just want to be, I want to be the proper balance there if we have to make adjustments, that's all.
Yeah, and to be honest, I don't think that's going to look like if we do that on the rear elevation. I don't think it's going to look cheap. I think that's still a robust, quality, durable material. It's just a different look than brick. So I'd be
I
comfortable
agree with
either
that.
way.
I would just say this, if this was I think this looks like a warehouse. If this was out back and this is what they had to deal with, look at all day, and the front was, the brick, I don't think that would be the proper balance.
Yeah.
Matt, can you go back to that rear view?
Sure.
Would it make sense to have like the entrance jump back to the brick and then maybe do like that backside of the gym in the block? Or is it too
It may.
much change?
It may.
in and out?
I gave my designer the direction to just stick to this. I can say, what do you think would be the appropriate aesthetic in cut him loose, and Tyler can run around the building and think about some options. 'Cause to be honest, I mean, it'd be a drastic change, but I could see it looking really sharp. The brick there was the ground face block too. And so you sort of define this hierarchy of the more prominent elements are brick, and then the elements that step back become the ground face.
Yeah, I think it's important to anchor each side of the ground face with, so you've got the towers, you've got on the back, as long as you were able to anchor between the door and then the corner of the fitness center somehow to make it anchored, then, I think if it just went gray all the way to the corner, then I think it would look kind of,
Boring.
yeah. Even puzzling, I think.
I don't want puzzling to describe one of my buildings. The next one down is looking at the same as the rear from the ground face to the insulated metal panels. My estimator is telling me it's an increase of $123,000. I'm not buying that. I think it's a refinement in the specifications to refine that number down, but it doesn't sound like that look is something that we're pursuing at this time anyway. The next line item is an adjustment. This is reducing the building size by 928 square feet. So similarly, when we started schematic design, we took the front of the building and squeezed it up 5 feet and realized some square footage savings by doing that without affecting the program. We did the same thing where we brought the right side of the building on Prospect Street and brought that in another 5 feet without affecting the program. We reorganized the administrative and the living quarters upstairs slightly. I don't know if you guys had any comments on the plan operationally. I think it works out better for you guys, to be honest.
Good.
So this was free money, $670,000 in reduction there. The next one is one that you didn't like so much. We can save 212 square feet by taking 2 feet out of the apparatus bays.
My question is, what does that do? Does that take a 8-foot walkway down to a 6-foot walkway, or does it take a 4-foot, 6-foot walkway down to a 4-foot?
Leave the doors open and bring the trucks in.
No, it can work. It
Between,
requires,
as they back in,
It requires the fire department to revise the way that they've set up their pieces of equipment on the floor. So they would have to put some things that are not frontline response vehicles that they want to have direct, immediate access to as they're responding to a call a little bit further away so that they can fit the pieces in so that they are within that space. So there is an efficiency to be gained in that change in the layout, but it negatively impacts their operations and their ability to respond quickly. So that seemed like a trade-off not worth pursuing.
You have it right as a 5 then.
The next two are about reducing the building height. So we took 1'4" from the second floor to the roof on the administrative side, and we took 8 inches out of the ground floor to the second floor. So we sucked the whole building, the admin side of the building down by 2 feet. We didn't touch the bay height.
Does that affect the actual room size or the space in between the?
No, it all came out of the plenum, and we've reviewed that with our mechanical and
Say that's got
our engineers.
It's tight for them.
We had a little bit more robust of an overhead space on the second floor than we typically do. So we've worked that through with our engineers. They've reviewed all their duct sizes. There's a couple of pinch points where we're working through them. We had a meeting today and went through all this in detail, and we feel that we have a resolution to every clash. So I don't think it's going to cause an issue. I think it's something that we can accommodate. We've reviewed it from an engineering standpoint. It seems to work. And in aggregate, it's like $840,000.
As
So-
the departments.
Yeah.
Thoughts on that?
Yeah, we're fine with that.
Because it's not going to change the ceiling height.
Yeah, it's not going to change their interior space.
Yeah.
No, they were like, "Oh, we're getting really tight with our ceiling to our ductwork in the bunk rooms." And I'm like, "What is the ceiling height we're showing in the bunks?" And they were like 10 feet. I'm like, "We don't need 10-foot height, 10-foot high ceilings in bunk rooms. It'll feel weird." So we brought it. We redid all the ceilings. We made it all work. It works well, and you're still going to have nice, robust space. The next one is omitting the third run of the stair and the stair tower. That was $250,000 in savings. I put that in as priority 1. I hope you agree with me because we've already changed the model to address that, to reflect that.
I think on the last meeting, we couldn't think of a real good reason to spend $250,000 just to
Just to get
somebody
roof
can walk a
access.
half flight of stairs up to the roof.
And we'll still have ship's ladder access between various roofs, so there still will be access. It'll just be outside the building, not inside the building.
I heard guys that know parkour. And
So there'd be no interior access at all to the roof?
There will be no interior access to the highest roof.
Okay.
So there will be interior access to the carved out roof space that's outside of the day room, and to the area to the roof that's over the training room and fitness room, and then from that recessed roof that's behind the day room, we will have a ship's ladder that brings you up onto the apparatus bay roof, and from there it's a parapet wall to step over onto the other high roof. We have one in here changing so right now the flat roofs are all PVC roofing membrane. Said, what if we changed it to EPDM, the old school black rubber roof? Because so few people are doing EPDM and so many more people are doing PVC roofs nowadays, they're almost cost competitive, so there's barely any savings there. You'd probably buy that savings back in your heating bill over the first 3 years of building it, because you go from a black roof to a white roof.
Your air conditioning load, not your heating.
Yeah.
In the wintertime, you appreciate having the black. It melts your snow faster, and it.
Yeah. So.
And that's over all the flat roofs.
All the flat roofs, yeah.
So the apparatus bay, the training center, and whatever connects
part
them
of the
behind
building.
yeah.
Some municipalities prefer EPDM roofs because there's more contractors that they can bring in to do patches and repairs. Because that's just like taking a piece and gluing it down, and versus PVC that's hot welded.
I'm surprised there's not that big of a difference between them.
I was too. I was shocked.
We're building to be solar ready. Do we know if there's a plan to act on that? I know it's outside this project, but
Well,
if
by code wise, we have to be able to support it.
yeah,
5
but I
pounds
mean,
per
are we
square
going to
foot,
put solar? Is the town going to put solar panels on that roof? In which case, it doesn't matter what color it is because there's going to be solar panels.
Yeah.
So I guess that's my question. I don't know how.
I think eventually you'll see
Yeah.
that happen. There's currently no plan.
Okay.
It's on the high school.
Oh, it is.
Do you do it through PPAs or do the town buy them? Yeah, so there's no reason why you couldn't do that pretty quickly after the building being
Yeah.
switched online. Okay, I have a priority 4. We can continue to marinate on that one. It's not a big deal. The next one down is we've got that little carved out roof area. We've got that set up so that the fire department can use it as a patio. The paver system for that, so it's kind of you put a traditional roof down, and then on top of that, there's pedestals and then a paver. That's how you make a patio on a commercial building. The paver system alone is like $75 a square foot, so it was like $42,000 to build that out. That's a nice one to put into the bid docs as an alternate. It's all, once we get above the roof membrane, that's all general trade, so it's not like a roofer sub-bid or anything like that. So it's an easy breakout if we want to do that.
If you omitted that, though, what would it be? Like, what would you? You would just have the PVC.
Just roof. It would just be the roof. Yeah. You'd be stepping down because we're actually
Yeah.
recessing that slab down so that you can step out onto it level at the paver.
I'm just thinking. I just know I've been up on a PVC roof and they get slippery.
Super slippery.
So.
Oh, and you track it back in. I don't know what it is on the that you're walking on, but it always ends up following you back in. I don't like it.
You just get you the AstroTurf green grass rug and roll that out there.
Yeah. AstroTurf, like the Brady Bunch.
Yeah.
The next one down is so the lobby. So the next two kind of go together. So the lobby and the staff lobby. Right now we have in as resinous epoxy terrazzo. The first stair that goes up from the lobby up to the day room and all that, because it's an open stair, you can see from the lobby and everything like that. That's terrazzo stair treads. And so these two are saying, let's, for the lobby, eliminate the terrazzo and go to quartz tile. So this is kind of like a vinyl composite tile, a 12-inch VCT tile that you have in multiple, hospitals and municipal buildings everywhere. But quartz tile has like quartz aggregate built into that matrix, so it's more durable than a regular vinyl tile is. If you want to see it installed, and after a few years of use and abuse, Shrewsbury, it's all of the corridors of the Shrewsbury PD. We've used it on a number of projects. It's great. Fire department, you guys saw it when you came down. I think you were comfortable with that as an alternative product. So I put it in as priority 3. We can increase that, decrease that, whatever. And then the stair would just be going to your traditional rubber treads. So it's about 64,000 in savings with those two lines.
So, I have notes that have been going through things. Stair 1 and that vestibule were on there. It's kind of a holdover from when we had fire department and call center on the second floor, and we had a big major lobby going on. What if stair 1 became like stair 2?
Just a regular enclosed stair?
Yeah.
It would be.
You might have to push it north a little bit so you could fit it, so you could have your hallway coming from the fitness center area and stuff.
We can detail the stair the same as stair 2, but it doesn't need to be an enclosed fire-rated stair. So if we were to do that, it would increase the cost. But we can, if we want to go to a simple stair, which is pipe and tube
But
railing.
right now, your ground floor lobby, the employee entrance coming in, your vestibule is huge, and then you're opening the outside door. All that cold or heat is coming in and going right upstairs because it's a wide open stair to a big lobby that really you don't need. If you cut that vestibule down so it's a regular vestibule to go through, and you have if maybe you still leave it as a open stair, I don't know, but downgrade it.
We could look at doing something like
I'm
that.
just curious.
Didn't we put a security door before the stairs from the lobby?
I thought
Yes.
so too, that's why.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah. So in the plan, it's vestibule lobby.
Well, yeah, but you don't have a full vestibule. That's your problem. There's only a single door to the outside on that north side, going out the
I'm
north.
talking from the front.
From the front is a
But-
double door vestibule.
There's a door halfway in the middle now.
Beyond,
Training, so one
yeah.
training center door, and then there's
yeah.
controlled access after the trainings. Yeah,
I don't think I have the most recent floor plan here. It's from July. So you're saying instead of using this as a vestibule,
Well, because that's a wide open stair, so you got one door as you're coming through from the outside that the employees are coming through from the parking lot, and you're letting all the cold in the wintertime, and
Yep.
it's sucking right upstairs, so you're right up to the lobby upstairs.
yeah, we can
We can
make a vestibule, traditional
Yeah.
vestibule here. That's fine.
I was just thinking that it's, yeah.
because that's a non-public part of the building past that set of doors that are in the middle
Correct.
there.
Yeah.
That's
So that stairwell does not need to be anything fancy. That's
yeah,
Yeah, it's kind of a vestige. Yeah, it's kind of a leftover from when we had the We had a lot more. We had fire department offices plus 911 call center upstairs.
Yeah, I mean,
You
we
know,
can, we can simplify that whole thing down. It's not a big deal.
I would think. I mean, that might help some.
A little bit, yeah.
I would just leave the square footage for the flooring.
I don't think it's gonna save us any square footage.
Like, I'm just asking, like, with fluency, yeah, I mean, you're saying for fluency and for heat and all that, that would benefit it, but.
Well, putting the vestibule and stuff, I would think would certainly help it. I mean, I was thinking about that the stair goes from being drywall and painted to a CMU block painted like the other stair, so it's
Material, yeah.
it's you're cutting costs down that way. But if it doesn't have to be enclosed. But then I was also thinking that when you did that, you could put a roof ladder in the top stair, top of the stair to get up to a hatch. So your ship's ladder is not necessarily outside, but it's inside to get you up to through a roof hatch or something as an alternate.
Yep.
I mean, I guess you could do that. Well, no, the other stair goes up too high, I think. Oh, maybe it doesn't. Probably the same height. You could probably do it in the other stair that way anyway.
Yep.
Either a ship's ladder or an alternating step ladder, like the LaPierre stairs or whatever, get you up to a roof. But just to, and you're already on it about downgrading the terrazzo tile to a quartz tile or something. So that's part of what I was looking at and thinking about.
That space on the employee entrance is non-public but high traffic, I think is how I would probably look at it, because that's employee.
That's where they're all going to enter and
that's
leave.
employee as well as transition to the fitness area and,
Yeah.
So Matt, on the terrazzo, how big is the lobby? I know you were close to where we were on that last floor plan you just showed us.
It's smaller than this now. Give you an approximate. We squared it off in here so that we don't kick back right here. As part of that adjustment when we shrunk the square footage down.
Yep.
The two lobbies together. The two lobbies together is this much square footage, 1,328 square feet.
I think the materials, and I think this may be a bigger conversation probably for the chiefs and the town as relative to what the maintenance is going to be for this building. I don't think it's really been brought up yet, and what our maintenance type, what the right products are depending on the frequency they're expecting floors to be polished and cleaned, and
Yep.
I think that may weigh in as to which material. If they're going to have a dedicated person from either a subcontractor or the DPW that is just there all the time and they're running buffers over those floors on a weekly basis, then maybe it's one material. If it's someone that's only coming in once a month to do floors, and it might be another material. So
Both the quartz tile and the terrazzo, you're probably going to want to run a machine over that once a day. You're probably going to want to clean it regularly, just at any floor finish in a building like this.
and that would be that would be the public side.
What's
What would be the materials back on those entryways that you just showed us? Are those be like a rubberized floor, or what would that be?
Right now, we're doing a recessed walk-off mat system. So when you go into some stores, it's got the grates that you walk over with a walk-off carpeting, so that really gets the grit and everything off, and then it goes underneath that into basically like a tray, and then you once a month you pull that out, vacuum it, and you're done.
Okay, but the rest of the floors, like in front of the fitness areas and to the stairwells, what are those floors going to be?
So it depends. So the fitness area will have fitness flooring, so it's like a rubber fitness
Right, I
flooring.
see that. It's more in the hallways and the white areas there. So
So right here, this would be the walk-off mat. This would be the walk-off mat, and then this we're talking about is terrazzo or the quartz tile. The transition zones are also walk-off mat. Helps decontaminate the bottom of your boots as you're coming out of the dirty side of the building to the clean side.
Coming off that side entrance where the parking lot is that
Over here,
walk off? And
walk
then-
off. Walk off.
Too?
No, this would all be, this would be
Oh, that would be
the,
that same
this would be the
rubber.
courts
Yeah, yeah.
tile, and then this would all be fitness flooring.
Got it.
Okay, again, that was my point. There would be a difference between
Yeah.
what the public would be on compared to the employees on a daily.
Yeah, and then a majority of almost all the other spaces, all the up there spaces, the firematic spaces, the apparatus space, that's all an epoxy type system. It's about the only thing I would recommend for those spaces.
That's for the apparatus floor, right?
For the floor and the support spaces off of that. And
Right.
then all
So-
the staff, admin, and living spaces are mostly a vinyl tile, either a luxury vinyl tile or a vinyl composite tile. And then some of the other spaces have, it's called kinetics. It's a type of carpet tile like this, but it's denser and has a much lower pile height, so it almost looks like a vinyl composite tile system. It's just a little bit softer, especially for like the training room. So it's easily cleanable, easily maintainable, and it's a little softer on your knees when you're doing like CPR trainings and things like that. But for the most part, we're trying to keep everything hard, durable, cleanable. So there's not a lot of carpet, and there's not a lot of things that require a high level of maintenance.
Is there any carpet in there?
Little bit, not a lot. I think the only places we talked about was the training room. I want to say the training room, the private offices. Is that it?
Yeah, the staff
it?
really did not want carpet. at
Yeah.
all.
Did we agree on the trade? You guys said the carpet in the training room?
No, the training room, they did not want carpet in.
Oh, that's it. But that's what they told us, that they wanted the carpet in there because it was softer for trainings and things like
One
that.
guy did.
I will say,
We like what
No,
was
we're
in
naming
Lexington
names.
Yeah.
with like, I would prefer like as little carpet as possible, like thinking offices, it makes sense, something like this, but.
You may want to
But-
think about in the training area, the acoustics.
acoustics is a big one for
Yeah.
rooms, training rooms that don't have carpet. They'd get very
That could
lost.
Plus, that's your
what we had in our notes from that.
EOC too. So you're going to be
Well, I
going
think the conversation was
to have a lot of
something about
conversations happening.
in the front, or having like some type of a strip or area.
We talked about doing resilient border and then the entire interior being the carpet.
I don't remember that under the tables. I guess I thought it
think-
was just up front or on the side.
I agree. I thought we talked about, we saw some design that had like the outer perimeter, like a hard, like a vinyl with like a carpet sort of in the middle.
Right.
Kind of area.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the training EOC definitely wants to be a soft product on the floor.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I do remember them talking about that because you were talking about bringing in a carpet or not. You wanted to like either roll one out for like trainings and stuff like that, but it didn't make sense to store it.
Right.
I think you could do both. I mean, I think you could have the dedicated walkways between, in front of the tables, in front of the class, be a tile component, but have what's underneath the tables carpeted, so that if you did roll the tables to the side to do CPR training, something of that nature, you would be down on a softer surface. I think you could find a medium there somewhere.
We're also talking about not doing, now that you brought up, because you mentioned tile. Wet walls in bathrooms is the only thing that we have tile. No tile on the floor, nothing. No grout lines or anything like that. So the bathrooms are all epoxy floors, public bathrooms as well. All right, got a few more lines to cover here.
I just had a quick question. We kind of talked about the terrazzo and durability and versus the other tile. Is there any difference in durability as far as like long term? I know we talked about maintenance, and either way they're going to need to be maintained daily, and that's fine. But like as far as longevity goes,
Between,
between the terrazzo and the lobby and the other product.
yeah, so terrazzo is pretty bulletproof. It's going to last the life of the building for the most part. It's a little bit more of an issue if you drop something like a hammer on it and it cracks something. The patches never look quite right. But for the most part, that'll hold up the life of the building. The vinyl, the quartz tile, it's definitely not going to last as long as terrazzo is, but it'll easily last you if reasonably cleaned and maintained, 20, 30 plus years without an issue, if not longer.
Yeah, I'll just, through the chair, having been involved with the school reuse committee, you can ask Joe Fahey. Joe Fahey could be the spokesperson for terrazzo flooring. We looked in Bryn Mawr and Mary D, and those floors look like they had been installed
Yeah.
the day before. and
That's
they were
those are
75.
those are the old sand-based terrazzo, which is a thicker and stuff, and it wears like iron. And
Yeah.
It lasts forever.
So, do we want to move the terrazzo floor in the lobby to 4 in the priority list? Are we good with 3
I
for
feel
now?
like 3 is appropriate. I mean, if we're getting to the 3s, then we're really looking for opportunities to shave, tens of thousands of dollars instead of hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like if we get down to level 3, I feel like we're looking for every opportunity to cut a cost at that point.
Yep.
Whereas I would view the 4s and 5s as worst case scenario. And the 1s and 2s we'll probably want to consider this just to, give ourselves flexibility somewhere else,
Yep.
potentially.
So I will, when we run the next estimate, we will detail what the revised stair and staff entry looks like and if that has an impact on cost one way or the other. The next one is an adjustment, so reducing EV-ready parking spaces. We were showing 6 more on the plan than we needed. So we need to do 20% of all parking spaces we have on site. So we've got like 96 parking spaces or something like that. So 20%, 20% is 20 spaces. If we eliminate more parking spaces, this is one VE item that I didn't put in here, that we certainly could think about. We could look at doing, this is the old site plan, so I apologize, but we could look at, reducing the public parking spaces down a little bit.
I think that's a useful option to list.
Yeah.
Because we are, we're building parking for the whole site, knowing that, you're going to have public there sometimes, knowing that someday there might be additional people working there.
Well, yeah, but if you got a 75-person training room,
Yeah.
and DPW or somebody else is coming over to use it, they're going to need spaces. They're not going to be parking out back in the employee spaces.
Right.
So, I mean, we got to balance it against, having enough space around the site.
Yeah, but push come to shove, they can park in the grass. I mean,
Across the street, down on the road.
Yeah, I mean, that's. I mean, I'm not saying it's high on the list, but if we're gonna have a list like,
But-
don't build the mechanics bay, then I think you gotta have only build half as much parking as we have out front for the public as an option. I mean, if we get down, I'm not saying it's a 3, but I would take out parking before I
But
get rid of the
But
mechanics
again,
bay.
if you're building a space for 75 people and you don't have enough space to park all those people,
Well,
And
you gotta look at it this way too. If you're building a building with occupancy, it's required by code to have a certain amount of parking spaces.
Yeah.
So
you got to,
that's sort of the
right.
foundation where you need X amount of parking spaces just on the.
I don't know if it's one. I don't know if it's 1-to-1, with the training room or not. But
With the parking, the thing that honestly concerns me the most, especially with the EV parking, is where that's going to be, because those EV spaces are open to the public. And I would rather, I get from a cost perspective, and we see this at town hall, and honestly, it's kind of a pain in the butt, where they put the 2 EV charging stations at the town hall. They did that to save money because it was the shortest electrical run, but there are the same residents day after day that are utilizing and tying up those 2 parking spaces, which have now been taken away from the public by the handicap ramp. So we have to assume that if we put 20 EV spaces there will be EV cars charging there on a daily basis from the public. And the location of that concerns me more than the actual EV spaces themselves. I don't want them closer to the building to save money
Yep.
on the electrical run, where now they're kind of like the first layer of parking right up against the, you know, the operational side. So I think the location of the EV concerns me more than the number of spaces, because they will be utilized.
Chief, are those spots hourly at, like, is it only from like 9 to 6 p.m.? Yeah, you know what I mean? 24 hours,
a
so
day.
you have
So
overnighters.
they can pay,
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
so that's,
there's
That's
cars,
at the
you know,
station.
there's
You don't
cars
want-
that sit in the town hall
We,
parking lot.
we did already kind of discuss the layout of where those were gonna be.
yeah, we
And
put, did we scooch them towards the
We went
access
down.
road?
And this is, most of it's EV ready. It's, we only need to put in whatever we think we might need or whatever. You can
That's
throw
right.
some out back and you might throw in a couple out front, but that's it. We don't need to have,
It's
we don't
not
have to have,
20 ready, so when I look at this, it says 20 EV spaces.
no, it's,
That's EV ready,
Yep.
that's
Yeah.
not on day
Right.
one when
Correct.
we open this 20 chapter.
That $5,200 a space, that's the conduit, the wire, and a pole box.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
another $3,500 to $5,500 each for the
Put
pedestal.
ahead. Yeah.
So we have flexibility in how many, you know, the committee will decide how many are actually ready to go and live the day that we open.
Typically, they're not, because of the complexity around municipal contracting with the pay station, it's typically not part of a construction package to put the charging heads in. That's normally something that's bought after
Okay.
with a vendor that you guys, so if you already have them at town hall, you would probably expand that service, or you would do a separate procurement for the heads in the meter because of the paywall infrastructure that you need to build out.
Matt, on the regulation, does the regulation differ between the number of public spaces and total spaces? So even though
I don't believe it does.
50 of those spaces are designated for firefighters, you're still required to have EV spaces?
Best practice and what a planning board is probably going to tell you to do is they're probably going to tell you to do 20% for each isolated use. So if you've got a staff parking lot that's secure from the public, you're probably going to want to provide 20% of that as a lot. And where you have the public, they're probably going to want 20% of that as a lot. If I was to guess. We'll find out more next month at the planning board. All right, here's a fun one. We have a lot of site development costs associated with the property, and a lot of it comes down to the subsurface detention basins. So we have to a lot of the storm water that the site is capturing from parking lot runoff, we have to treat it, store it, and discharge it on site. So that happens two ways. One, through subsurface detention basins, which we have here. So these are giant Coltech chambers that go underneath paving areas. Stormwater system drains into catch basins, gets piped into these big chambers. There are perforations in them, and they slowly leach the water back down into the water table. That's one way to do it. The other way to do it is through a rain garden. I put in here $250,000 as a potential savings for this. It could be a lot more than that. A lot. I mean, we have $1 million in just subsurface detention for this project. So, with that comes the unit, the install, the hookup, the tie-ins, and tons of excavation. Right now, we have a net cut on this site where we're moving over 22,000 cubic yards of material and trucking it off site. So every hole we're putting in the ground is money that we're spending. One option that we have is we could do a surface mounted detention basin. So this is a big rain garden. And so here, where we're preserving some green space for potential future hypothetical building that may or may not happen. If that building ever gets built, obviously they'll have to take that detention basin out and tie in a sort of site-wide subsurface detention system. So there'll be some cost associated with that future hypothetical project. But if it never comes to fruition, we buried our infrastructure here for just to preserve that potential future use. So I'm suggesting saving quite a bit of money in site development costs by taking part of this green space here and creating a large rain garden that will serve this purpose. And then 20, 30, 40 years down the road, if that other building gets built, it's just part of that project that has to get managed to take that system out and put a new one in.
Matt, what else is out there? And I don't know if there's anything on the commercial or side for parking lots that self-drain, not asphalt.
Oh, like pervious paving and all that?
Right.
Yeah, that's all part of the same thing. It doesn't really help you on the back. I wouldn't put pervious paving in anywhere that a fire truck is going to be driving. It'll tear the crap out of that thing pretty quick.
I'm just thinking other technologies besides big buckets underground that are catching water and then just.
There's not much. There's not much.
It's either the big surface pond or you bury it all.
Yeah.
It's got to be at the bottom of the list because I can't imagine going back to the final design and if we sold this project on the fact that we're preserving space for future use and we've got a pond there. Like, yeah, we can take it out if we need to use it, but like just the optics of it are terrible.
Could you put it in between Route, is that 20 in the parking lot? Like, could you do like a longer, you know what I mean? Like fill in
Not really
no,
the space there.
Doesn't really work.
No. And this edge of paving here is effectively going to be our new flood line, so we can't put it down there either.
Is that what was on the side building of Lexington?
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest, like aesthetically, that was tough to look at. And not picking on them, this would be a lot easier to maintain in the middle of the site. But that was
I think
very
it's
overgrown, and they kind of complained about it.
You'd have to put a fountain in it or something.
you gotta maintain it. There's a series of very large ones at the Shrewsbury PD. There's one right to the right of there's two right to the right of the front entrance, and there's a massive one on the left side of the staff entrance. If you want to go see those, we designed those. So Lexington's was a traditional detention basin, which is very basic, and we used we used the old granite curbs that we removed from the old building to create baffles to help with water filtration. Shrewsbury's, those were like traditional, like more modern rain gardens. So those have very specific plantings. They look fairly attractive. There's educational signage that goes along with it and stuff like that. I think you might want to look at those before you throw out the whole idea. I get the optics of the whole thing. So it's an option. It's right now our biggest bust is on site costs. Yeah.
I'm just saying, I hope we never get that far down the list that we're having to really consider that. But
Okay, so I'll leave it as a 5. One other one we got here is we initially designed the entire building perimeter where it's metal stud framing as 8-inch metal studs, deep metal studs. So a lot of the perimeter structural steel is 6-inch tube sections. So it's a 6-inch by 6-inch square column. They have a little bit of movement to them, so we can't bury them in a 6-inch stud wall. They'll be in our drywall. They'll be in our sheathing. But we could save $125,000 by reducing that to a 6-inch stud, and then, 5 or 6. We went around the perimeter and looked at the steel framing plan. There's like 5 or 6 instances where you'll actually see the steel in a wall just poking out. It doesn't affect the performance of the space. It doesn't really do anything bad, anything good. It's just there's a column there.
You could box it or whatever too, right?
We could box it out if we want to. So we thought that was a no-brainer. So we put it in as an adjustment.
That doesn't impact like insulation, obviously.
Nope. Insulation's all outboard of that. There's no insulation. The only insulation in the studs is there'll be a couple of feet at intersections with other walls. And then all the interior walls are insulated fully, but the exterior, the studs, we don't need insulation in them because it's all outboard of that. That way it's easier if you have to ever change an outlet, change a data outlet, cut a new hole or anything like that. You're not dealing with insulation. You're not dealing with cutting up your vapor barrier and things like that are there. They all sort of live outside of the wall framing. The next one is omitting radiant heat. So the next two are building on the omission of the radiant heat flooring system that's in the apparatus bays and the surrounding support spaces. Now, there was a question that Joe had, and a suggestion Joe had last meeting, where he said he had concerns about the reheat in the wintertime as you leave. So I talked to the engineers about it and said, how are we managing this? We have an MAU, so it's it's basically a forced hot air system in the apparatus bays already. So when the Plymavent system kicks on, it sucks a lot of air up. So we need an MAU, which is a makeup air unit, to provide more fresh air so that we're balancing out the apparatus bays. And that has gas-fired reheat in it already. So we already had a backup to the radiant flooring that will provide that. So we didn't need to bring in Modine units or gas-fired heaters in the apparatus bays. We can condition all the support spaces off of the MAU and off of that reheat system effectively and efficiently. So
When you say support spaces, are we talking about the
econ and all
Okay.
that, yeah.
Okay.
The turnout gear spaces. So right now we've got radiant heat in them as well. That's your primary heat, and then the MAU is providing backup. We can have the MAU do primary heating. The advantages you get with radiant heat, especially in the apparatus bays, is it's heating at the area in which you're inhabiting. So we're not heating 15 feet up into the air and blowing it down, although we'll have ceiling fans that'll help with that. But the other thing it does is it helps dry that floor, that slab out in the wintertime when the trucks are coming back with snow and ice and things like that. That warm slab will dry out a lot faster, so it creates a safer fire floor. Having said that, we also have it in the support spaces. Kind of like once you're in that slab area, it just makes sense to just complete the thought. There's an efficiency of scale there. But if we took it out of the support spaces, we could cut about $40,000 out of that system. And if we took it out completely, you can add another $153,000 on there. So there's almost $200,000 in that system, all told.
Is there an energy efficiency trade-off if you?
Yeah.
Yep, it'll be less efficient if you take
Yeah.
that out. The radiant flooring heats really efficiently.
And you're probably have upgrades to the MAUs.
Yeah,
to-
yeah, we might have to upsize it,
Yeah.
possibly. Yeah,
We thought it was important in the support spaces as well.
No,
Just to keep everything
Yeah.
consistent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Matt, does that run the entirety of the apparatus bay? Like, is there any benefit savings to, you've got a giant truck that's parked, not putting the radiant underneath that section, but all the areas around it so that those areas stay dry for people walking and?
no, because there's a lot of it comes into, you have to insulate under the slab when you put a radiant flooring system in, and we have to pour a thicker concrete slab section so that the radiant tubing can be at least 3 inches below the topping, and then rebar. So we do a slab, rebar, radiant piping, slab on top of it. So if we start chopping that up as we go along, there's a lot of labor that goes into that, and it
So that's
increases the
for
cost.
all of that extra rebar and flooring and prep, that it's only $190,000 savings?
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's not that. I mean, there's nothing special. It's just like PEX tubing. It takes a couple of days for a couple of guys to go and lay it all out, and then that goes into a couple of manifolds that sit in the wall, and those modulate the heat. And then there's a glycol makeup unit that provides some glycol into there so that you're not freezing or causing issues with the material moving through the
It
piping.
just seemed like that, what you just described as the prep to put down all that, seems like it, for that amount of square footage, would be a lot more
It
expensive.
feels like, as far as HVAC systems go, a steal. But it's not as expensive as it seems when you're talking about a $30 million project.
And it's probably going to be cheaper to operate, right? I mean,
Yeah.
And that's the big,
I think there's a trade-off there, you know, with, like you said, the size of that makeup air and whatnot.
Yeah.
Can that radiant heat be extended to the aprons outside the doors?
It can, and I won't recommend it for a couple of reasons. And the first is the value savings we just talked about in the operations of it go out the window when we start heating an exterior one. That's going to be continually circulating through much colder return, and so we're going to be flowing a lot more material through the system, firing it and heating it continually. So you're going to be you're heating a frozen environment when you're doing that. That's a minor issue. The biggest issue is when it's snowing, sleeting, and it's cold out. Now you're basically creating an ice dam at the front of your apparatus bays. So you're gonna, wherever that radiant heat is in the apron, will start to thaw and melt the snow, which is why a lot of fire departments want that. They're like, we don't want to get out there and shovel in front of the garage doors. It's a nightmare. As soon as that system ends, it will freeze, and it'll freeze continually, and it'll start to build up an ice dam. And so you guys are going to pull your trucks out. You're going to hit that ice dam. It's going to be a speed bump right in the front of your bays. The only way to mitigate that is if we run the heated apron to a catch basin and then heat the catch basin with heat trace. So now it's how much are we heating outside to deal with the issue? It's a cascading issue. It causes a lot of
you
problems.
might as well just cover the apron with a carport.
Yeah, you'll
At
see.
that point.
There are some fire departments that do it. There's some that have requested it, and there's some that have had it put in. And if you go into New Hampshire and Maine, you'll see some that have done it quite a bit. And what you'll see is a catch basin somewhere down at the bottom of the apron that is just rotted out because they're pouring tons of salt on it to get rid of that sort of ice dam that it creates. But it's a good question.
So you're looking for us to put that somewhere, a number beside those?
Yeah.
No,
I was going to say it's more down 5. As
5 or
Maybe a
you
5
could
for
talk
the,
me into a 4,
for the
but
support spaces, maybe a 4, because you
Yeah.
probably could put
Okay.
enough heat in there with the regular ceilings,
Yeah.
Perfectly reasonable.
but certainly whatever the committee.
again, it's another item that I hope we never have to get to, I guess.
The last item I have on here is omitting fueling from the generator day tank. So,
the fire department fueling from the.
yeah. That's a difficult system to take a guess at. So at first my estimator had a fast system in there, which is a full fueling tank, separate tank and all that. And I said, what are you doing? That was $750,000. So we put an allowance in there for 50 grand to get rid of it. I think it'll be less than that at the end of the day. But we do have to do a few things a little bit extra in order to do that. There's some controls that have to go in there. There's the pump in that assembly. There's some additional monitoring, and we really want to make sure that we're not undersizing the tank so that they don't have 72 hours of fuel on board of that generator to provide the building power. So we do need to upsize the tank as a result. So those things we feel reasonably that there's about $50,000 worth of work there.
I guess my question would just be to the chief, deputy chief, what does the current system work? How does it work? Do trucks fueled between runs? Is this?
Yeah, right now, they're only permitted to go there at night, just because of the traffic and the volume that Shell station does. At the end of the day, I think it would be great if we could do it. The main reason why I sort of wanted to do this outside of the convenience was just to make sure that we were turning over the amount of fuel that's in the generator. Because when it starts, and runs for an hour on its weekly test, you're not using a ton of fuel. So that was really the big advantage. I don't think it's a 5, but I don't know that I would, look to cast it away immediately, especially at 50 grand. would solve some things operationally, it would turn the fuel over, not a hill I'm gonna die on.
Do you pay tax on your fuel now?
No, we do not.
Okay. So there's not a difference between road fuel and dyed fuel? Because your generator, you don't pay road tax seal on.
Our
Like home heating
generator-
oil.
The generator is gas.
No,
Diesel.
What, are you talking about right now?
no,
currently?
no, we're talking about the new configuration.
New configuration.
Oh,
Be diesel. So we're gonna have a tank on there, okay, and we're gonna put off-road diesel in that. Okay, and if you go to, if you're refueling your trucks, okay, do you pay tax, road tax, on the fuel that you use?
No, we don't pay tax on the fuel.
So that becomes a non-issue. You can use dyed fuel, okay, without any problem in it.
Okay. So just to give you all a snapshot of where that leaves us. So we're looking for 24.8 is the ballpark we want to be in. I don't think we didn't add any of those ads back in, so those are all sitting off the table. So if we're looking at priority 1, we're at 25.4. Priority 2, we're at 25.3. Priority 3, we're at 25 million, pretty much even. Priority 4, there was almost nothing in there, so it's just a little less than that. And then if we took all the VE that I laid out on the table that was priority 1 through 5, it brings us to 23.2 million. So I think we've got enough here to be in the ballpark. This is not the last time we're going to go through this exercise.
And we've got the potential stair
Yeah.
reconfiguration.
Can we, can you pull up second floor plans?
Yep. Any other suggestions you guys have?
I-
Happy to entertain them.
All right.
This is the old floor plan, so
It's close enough.
yeah.
So, couple of things. The open space between the main lobby and the second floor it's gotten smaller, a little bit over history. Plus, it's also, like I said, it's an old history thing. Do we really need that anymore?
I don't agree that it's an old history thing as part of the old design.
I mean, it doesn't really tie to anything downstairs. It's not a.
It doesn't, but it gives height to the lobby that you wouldn't have otherwise, and there's going to be a lot of stuff in that lobby, artifacts and displays and things like that. It also gives a visual connection between the lobby and the training room, and the day room and living areas, as well as brings natural light that they wouldn't have otherwise into that space.
I mean, you got a pretty long tunnel before you get to it, coming from the outside there. Especially with you extended the gable out and stuff and pushed it out there. That's because I was thinking that. I mean, if you lose it, you could move the living space over a little bit, and then you could add back in some function space inside the areas that we got rid of earlier. Was study rooms and report writing rooms that are now relegated to the radio room downstairs that we could put back into the inn. And then second is the officer's one bunk. You pushed out into that gable. If we pulled it back, because right now you got 192 square feet or whatever of just empty space out in front of the his that's never going to be used for anything other than probably going to become a catch-all storage area or something.
That's laid out in the.
And that bunk is all the floor is all exposed to the outside. Now I know it'll be insulated and everything else, but it'll never be as warm as if you had a occupied space below you. Now to keep the gable, you could do like a 2-story entrance out in front so that you can keep your peak of the gable coming out and just push the bunk back. I'm just saying, recapture the area. It's kind of silly to have that because you can't do it as a sitting room or anything else because it's in and amongst the bunks. That's the last place you want it. You're not going to do it as an officer's office because you don't want. You've got those all separated anyway, right?
Yeah, I think there is a little sitting area out here. I think it would function.
But
I don't.
You don't want a couple of people out there sitting there yakking away at a seating area if people are trying to sleep either.
What's underneath that first bunk, Matt, on the first floor?
Open space.
That's
The,
Vestibule?
yeah, it's a little bit of the vestibule and a little bit of open space down below. The vestibule,
It's all open space.
believe the vestibule is out further now, too.
Okay, well, if you moved it out some, it's picked it up, but, yeah.
Why do I feel like the design of that corner changed in the
It has.
upstairs?
It has, yeah. This is,
But it has when we put the second ridge in, and they brought it out, so they brought it out proud to, make it
And
stand,
when-
make it stand
so
out
I
in the
was
design.
on
oh, these are the,
I was at the technology meeting last week, and I feel like
there we go.
Uh,
This is the latest.
I don't remember. Is that the latest?
This is the latest.
Okay, so it still has that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we can pull it back. I don't know. I don't see if it's going to save us any money.
I think it'd be more comfortable space, because you don't have a cold floor. You don't have, that, I was doing it in conjunction with if you fill in the lobby space and you did add some offices along there that we didn't have before. This layout is changed. You kind of swung the dining kitchen around and everything else.
Yeah.
So what is the reason that one bunk hangs out like that and it couldn't be pushed to be even with the other bunks?
It could.
Would they lose the windows?
No, because I think you could have it back and you just have, like I said, you could have a 2-story entrance with the gable on it, with the peaked roof coming out to the end there. Because if you go to your elevations, I don't know, just your elevation drawings, not your renderings. It doesn't show up on your renderings.
It's right here.
It's right there, but if you look from Route 20 side, if you bring up the elevations on your drawings. Although you might have the walk around rendering too.
Oh, that's the back.
No, not a sitting room, but I think otherwise you just lose a bunch of space if you push the bunk room forward. You have wasted space behind it. I'd rather see the bunk room stay where it is.
Yeah, it's just gonna be a catch-all. That's what I was more worried about. I was kind of doing it with getting rid of the opening to the lobby, and then allowing you to reconfigure the living space some better too, and add some other space, some office space or study room space that we had originally that took out of the scheme.
I'm not saying it's important in the grand scheme of things. Part of the open lobby too was if they ever did utilize building on the second floor of the training center, that would give you another natural light.
Like I said, it could be 20, 30 years
Well,
from
I
now.
didn't say it was,
It could be, the second floor could be just part of the other building, not anything to do with the fire station, because, if you have separate uses or whatever. I mean, that's what I'm saying, is you could,
I didn't say it was high on the list.
you could spend a lot of money up there and never use it, so it's like, why are,
Well, I mean, this is supposed to be like the entrance, so like you want
Yeah.
it to stand out.
Well, I know, but that's what I'm saying. So if right now that's a window to the bunk room, but if you take the brick header out of there and you go right up through there and you have a 2-story, entrance in there, you can hang a big fixture up in there, and that's your entrance into, it would show up as a big entrance.
Oh, and you're saying make it like clear,
Yeah.
top to bottom.
Yeah, and just be like columns that coming up on it from the front side.
You'd have the
Push the bunk room forward.
Take up that space that's kind of just wasted space inside.
still need the bunk window
Yeah.
facing out into
You would look into the bunk window, would still look into the same space,
yeah.
but it'd just be back 10 feet, 12 feet.
Whatever light is there, right?
Coming out, yeah.
That-
You
yeah.
turn the window and change the bulb.
I don't know. That didn't look like space that could be really used at the end of the hallway, though.
Sean, that is a consideration, though, right? That, if that lobby, if that foyer area is lit from above down into that,
Well, you have that right now with the lobby, with the two-story lobby. You're gonna have lights and stuff up there that you're gonna have to get up to.
no,
And
I'm
it's
saying
only a-
for that officer's quarters, if he's pushed in, his exterior window now is that open space, which is gonna be lit 24/7, so they'd
But it doesn't necessarily have to be all the way at the top. It could be down, that could be the light
lower fixture.
lower because you're only lighting. I don't know.
Square footage wise, though, even if we moved it in, say, 4 feet, what is that really? 4 by 8?
It's not going to do much because we're not changing the envelope. The thing we're going to save on is a little bit less slab. Infilling this would increase cost.
Yeah, we increase costs some, but I think you'd get more programmatic space for the actual living quarters. Because you could take that, we got rid of study rooms or whatever a while ago. In your, study and report rooms.
Well, the study room was a duplication of space because we provided that in each bunk room, that functionality.
Okay.
In the report writing, we moved that to the radio room because it was more functionally, worked better functionally for the way the department does that kind of thing.
Yep.
If there's other space that we're missing that's important, that certainly would make sense.
This is a new layout from what we've last seen, so I haven't digesting this new floor plan, but
Matt, where is future access to a future potential second story?
It's right here.
yeah.
Right there, okay. Is there secondary egress from that
Let's see right
second story? Thank you. I know that all these things jump out at you, but they just don't jump out at me.
These are my secrets.
Well, I guess if we're making a list,
I
I
think that bunk room's going to be cold. That's all. I don't care how much you insulate the floor, because there's nothing out there. It's not like you have sprinkler systems or anything that you're putting. And if you put a heater in there or something, then it's something more to maintain. You have another alarm that you have to worry about and everything else in that plenum ceiling. Because now you got 3 exterior walls plus an exterior floor.
I mean, could you just make that space, the officer's bunk room, that entire space, and just not put the rack and the other stuff stays forward of the colder area, and potentially, I don't know, just they get more square footage than the
I
firefighters.
don't personally. I don't think this is a big deal. Moving the officer bunk here, and then having that is just open down below. I think that's fine. I think this would start to lose. I think you'd start to lose a lot out of the architecture if you got rid of this.
Okay.
Well, and I think we were using that space to provide light into the kitchen living area, correct?
Into there.
But that's I was saying pushing the kitchen living room to the outside wall, and then that gives you more square footage in the living quarters to put programmatic space in. If we had chopped it down so much that we were limiting ourselves on, if it's another shower or if it's another, study area or
I
something.
don't think you can really, what Matt said, that's the area we're gonna put the history of the Auburn Fire Department and pieces of equipment and its past in a nice 2-story sort of space and well-lit and natural light. That's got more value. I mean, I think if they're going into Northbridge there and seeing that was the first thing we walked in, that's what the public is gonna, when they come for their tours, they're not gonna see all that programmatic space
No.
upstairs. They're gonna say,
I
wow,
know, but
this
these
was well
these
spent.
guys are living there 24/7.
Understand, but
If we close that in, it would be closer to Lexington's, which was it's kind of like a big corridor.
Mm.
Oh, I guess that would be the difference.
If that bunk room slid back to be even with those, what's underneath it now? What
The entry.
that become? So it's just dead space above where it would still be built up, but there would be nothing above it.
Yeah, so
Right.
it's kind of like this. It's occupying like
Be a
that.
bird catch-all.
So if we pushed it back to here, It'd be like that. Then this could be like 2 stories up. You can sort of hang a decorative pendant light down there, something like that. We could do, instead of a window here, that could just be like an opening. You know, it's kind of like, it ends up being like a clock tower kind of
Got an
thing.
old
where you
fire
could-
bell?
If you got an old
You put it
bell,
up there?
yeah, that'd be great to hang up there.
I think the 2-story lobby though also sits right over the entrance in the training center, which would really,
Oh, it does it? Did you, well,
the double door, right, so it's
Pretty
just
much,
in front of
yeah.
the elevator, right?
Yeah, so the double door is like right here, I think.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of right, it's, yeah.
But if you get rid of the partition, you might be able to move, you might move your doors around too, right?
Yeah.
You can't, you can't move it too far down.
No, I guess you would move it closer to the front.
Okay.
I don't know.
Anything else?
Oh, that was my damage for now.
I guess in- to weigh out the option of moving that forward or not, you are giving up some square footage where there's enough room to put something, a desk, a bookshelf.
But would you put something
Well,
there
that's the
right,
question,
right in
right?
front of a bunk
That's the
space?
question.
That's what I'm saying.
You know, and I
Yeah,
assume
it's more likely going to
Yeah.
become a the closet to put mannequins or fire brochures or something. You know, you can end up nature abhors a vacuum, so that it becomes a storage area for something.
yeah. The question is there a
Programmatic need.
yeah?
Is that a window at the end of that corridor, I guess, out over that
Roof.
future space?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
sliding
these are-
that forward would kind of throw off the symmetry of that, right?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, I mean, right now there's like windows that come across here and here. You know, if this bunk was, I'd have to play with it to see what makes the most sense. You know,
Yeah, could you slide the bunk to there and have
if the bunk does that, and that's their window.
the window with the door coming go straight to the end of the hallway?
Yeah.
With the updated staffing, that's gonna use up most of the bunks at this point, is that, or still,
No, because there'll be a split between.
okay.
Yeah, because we got the excess capacity. I mean, this is
Right,
over
right.
capacity here, and we got excess capacity at
Yeah,
Drury Square.
I'm just wondering how, is that the senior room, or are they gonna wanna be on the other end? What's gonna be the more desirable?
This would probably be, if I was to guess, is probably the last bunk that you guys are going to be using because it's the furthest away from the response.
I'd agree.
But then, like you said, for potential future second story, that's now you put your bunk, you're blocking your second
But
access point.
you then you're coming through the living quarters into that side. You don't know what that space is going to be, so I doubt that would ever be the second entrance for that space. Because could say it's a police station that takes up part of that space, and you have and they have a building off to the side. I mean, you can't connect between the two buildings because they have different programmatic needs and securities and stuff. I mean, if you the only way if it was the fire station expanding and you needed more bunk rooms and stuff, yeah, then you could go that would be a doorway to go out through.
I thought all of our discussions, that potential second floor was always future fire space, any public, other place
It's
was
future.
separate building space. It was
Well, I mean, it's separate, but I mean, we're kind of hamstrung with the flood thing and stuff. So you could in theory have part of that second floor of the adjacent building be over top of this building. In theory, I'm just saying 20, 30 years from now, I don't know. I mean, the fire department may expand across there, and then that's a moot point, and you could use that, window as a hallway, as your hallway going over there. But you're getting further and further away from the apparatus floor, so you got a whole bunch of other problems.
Right.
I think you'd be redoing everything, but
What if that wasn't a bunk? Would there be some other use for,
well, you don't want to lose a bunk.
well, I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean,
I'd be leery on that. I mean, right now with what, current staffing could go to, it gives us flexibility of 6 bunks. So if we start losing bunks, we just,
or alternately, is it an alternate use until you need it as a bunk?
that would be my.
Right, I mean, it's like, okay, we someday could be a bunk, but don't put a bed in it right away, and
Use it as
use
a
it as
study.
an office or a quiet space or a study room or whatever. And you could even
Especially if
make it,
that's your last desirable, because you're so far away.
you could even make it
or sleeping.
bigger.
I think it depends who you ask.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say,
want to be further away.
yeah,
It would make a nice study space.
yep.
I mean, I guess to your point, if say you don't close it in and you leave it just kind of as a open at the end, and we do utilize it that way
Yeah.
in the beginning, I would be reluctant to not utilize all of it the way it is.
well, we
I
can-
know what you're saying about the floor, and then
Yeah.
that totally makes sense.
We can also design it such that it's adaptable as, I'm going to use an ADA term, but adaptable as a bunk, right? So we can put in, say, this red box is that future bunk. This is where the bed's going to go. We'll put a couple of outlets up there, put things in there so like it'll be, the amenities that are going to go in as a bunk are provisioned. You just plug the fixture in.
Right.
And then at the end of the day, the only thing you have to do is build a little piece of wall by a door when you want to make it a bunk. You
Right,
know?
because the bunk rooms don't have any, I mean, other than electrical and communication stuff, you don't have anything else in them.
Yeah, we can.
There's no water, there's no,
Yeah, there's the station alerting light, right? There's probably going to be a couple of outlets, a couple of sconce lights or something like that around the bed, and other than that, it's basic space. It's simple.
yeah. I mean, that's a possibility too. I mean, you can, yeah. Use it knowing that it can be readily converted.
I just think if you want furnishings and everything to match, if you're not gonna buy that furnishings for another 5 years, those furnishings won't be available when you go to outfit the next one, you're gonna have mismatched rooms, I don't know, I just think if that's
Yeah,
That's
the
bunk space.
uniformity piece, for sure.
space, it's bunk space, and just build it as such.
Storm coverage, different things, different events. Sometimes you have to upstaff.
Okay. We don't need to make a rush decision on it, but we can tweak it back so that we can at least pull it back from the vestibule, and we can figure out what that needs to be down the road.
And does that really save us anything other than moving some things around?
And I wouldn't leave an open window there. I mean, to see critters and birds and everything else, keep it closed, natural light, and sealed up tight,
Oh, you mean instead of
Yeah.
making this a bell tower?
instead of a bell tower.
Yeah.
And
Well, you put the pigeon spikes down. I don't know how they always find a way around the pigeon spikes. It's unbelievable. Smart pigeons. All right, that's all I had today.
was a lot.
Connor?
Yeah, so advertisement went out for the pre-qualification process last week. Thank you, Chief, and everyone that helped out with that. the qualifications are due on the 22nd, so that gives them 3 weeks to get all their stuff into us through Bid Docs Online, which is a pretty good system that we've been using in the past, and it makes it pretty fluent. Check everything online. So once that comes in, then left field will review some of that, and we'll contact the pre-qualification subcommittee separately via email, and come up with some kind of time to meet virtually, hopefully to run through some of the bidders that come through. So we've already received quite a few already, so people are very interested in the project, which is good news for us. But
Yep.
we'll see what the final count is. But yeah, it's looking good so far.
Great.
And that's it. And then, yeah, we've been attending the design meetings, which have been very helpful. Thank you, Matt and team. And looking forward to Thursday's meeting. Hopefully that will check some more boxes.
Remote again.
Oh, that's good to know.
Oh, would you say remote?
Remote on Thursday.
Oh, okay.
Do you get the DD package at the end of the month? Is that
It
where?
goes to the estimator next Friday.
Okay.
Maybe the Monday following, as we button everything up.
But left field's doing a shadow estimate with this one, right? Yep.
Yep, our estimator's on board, and once we get the package up, we'll send that to him too.
All right. So do we need the next meeting on the 20th, or do we need to push?
Yeah, I had it tentatively there. I mean, if it makes sense for our project update, I think we should have it then, but obviously it's.
When will you
Or
have?
if you wanna wait
No,
till-
I won't be. We'll be in Denver for the IACP conference.
Okay.
When will we have the estimates back from?
Takes 3 to 4 weeks to get it back from the estimator, and then we need probably a week or two to reconcile them between our two estimators.
Yeah.
So Thanksgiving.
Before
Right before,
Thanksgiving.
so right before Thanksgiving.
Or
Yeah.
That Monday, probably.
Monday before Thanksgiving is
Yeah,
probably
24th.
maybe the week before. I think let's us talk to our estimators and kind of put together a time frame internally and see if that makes sense, or if we can move it earlier.
Yep.
I'd like to move it earlier if we could than that.
Yeah, we put some pressure on them.
And then we get through the holidays and we do this again, one last time.
So the
Just a
17th.
question.
Do we
Matt.
need to meet in between? That's what I'm trying to figure out right now. I mean, 20th doesn't sound like we need it. 27th would be opposite selectmen, I believe.
We could shoot for the 10th. I mean, if that, for the November 10th, that makes it sooner than the, 24th or 17th. there.
Maybe we just do it tentatively right now, and then if we don't need it, we
Yeah,
push it.
Yeah, once we talk to our estimators, then if they need an extra, whatever, 5 days or whatever it is, then we can go 17th. But
Okay.
let's tentatively go with the 10th, yeah, that works.
Okay.
We'll keep the committee updated.
We do have Veterans Day on the 11th, which is the Tuesday. I don't know if anybody's going to have extended
Oh, yeah.
travels. I'm just thinking the 17th might be the better, and that's before the Thanksgiving week.
Actually, the 10th is probably the selectmen meeting, right? Aren't they the 2nd and 4th?
Correct.
Let's take the 17th then. We flip-flop.
See if Camp Gleason's available.
Looks very nice. Mr. Chairman, the committee is presenting an update to the board on the 14th, correct?
Yeah.
At this upcoming Tuesday?
Yep.
Yeah.
Or a week from tomorrow, I should say.
Correct.
You need anything from Tecton for that?
Yeah.
We can put together a presentation, left field, yeah. Just as a go.
Just let me know when you.
Okay. Yeah, we can talk tomorrow.
Yeah, just probably some the latest floor, the quick floor plans, some elevations. I would think the full out, I mean, if you have the renderings, the full elevation, the all brick right now.
Yep. Do you need Tecton at that?
No, I think we can,
Yeah, I don't think so.
let's just check.
Jeff or I are double booked. It's town meeting season, but Tyler is available if you need to.
Yeah. I think it's more of we're just updating him with the status and, then left field can run through and massage the budget
Yep.
conversation so that, because Joe will be there, so he's good at, the estimators are kind of,
Yeah, don't want to raise any alarms, but
Yeah, so Matt, we can comb through it tomorrow, but yeah, renderings, and just floor plan, updated.
On that, by the way, can we move our touchdown to 1 tomorrow?
Possibly. Let me double check.
Okay.
I'll call you. I'll call you tomorrow morning. Yep.
Yeah, I got a building committee at 8:30 in the morning with up in Bellingham.
Okay. Yep.
Chief Miller loves it when I tell him that I'm not prepared for his meetings because I was up all night with you.
I love it.
Oh man, I'm gonna give him a call and he's gonna bust my balls.
Yeah, Matt. I'll call you first thing tomorrow.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
all right, anything else, Connor? You're,
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah. That's it.
next item is just the committee's discussion topic,
I think
if anything.
one thing that came out of the technology meeting is we're going to be compiling a list of proprietary items to the bid. So the main one was the camera system, right? So the town already has a vendor they use for the camera security systems. So I think we have to, at some point when we get the final list before we go out to bid, we'll have to approve the list.
Well, don't we have to submit that to
But
Yeah.
whenever
So-
we need
to
to,
the Attorney General or whatever, with justification and stuff?
No, so we'll help you craft the justification letter. So everything so
Because we have a few things. We have like the exhaust system on the trucks and,
yeah. So the way it works in Massachusetts for public procurement, everything has to be open bid. You specify 3 manufacturers or something, or 1 manufacturer, and then it's an open bid, and they can provide anything as a substitution. There are provisions that allow for what's called a proprietary specification that says this is the one and only thing that the town is going to accept. Everybody that's bidding on the project has to provide X widget with X specifications, right? So, for example, here in Auburn, all your municipal buildings have one video surveillance system, right? So it's in the town's best interest to make sure that this new building has the same camera video surveillance system so that it brings lower cost to the town in maintenance, replacement, those sort of things, right? So in order to do that, we need to develop a letter, write a memo that goes into the project file that's maintained by the town that says this item is in the town's best interest to be proprietary for reason X, Y, Z. You as the committee need to make the recommendation of those proprietary items to the select board, and then the select board needs to vote to allow that to happen. That's it. And then we can bid it as a proprietary spec.
so at some point, there's going to be a list that we'll have to work our way through before.
A list and a letter accompanying each
Yeah,
item.
and then once I think we kind of discussed just do them all at once, once we finish compiling the list, and then.
yeah, it's before the bid. DDs are out, so you're going to be out, and then you're going to CDs and bid package at that time?
Yeah, I would.
Which
So we're hitting the streets to bid first week of February. So I would probably recommend we should have drafts of these prepared in December so
Yeah.
that they can be acted upon in January.
Okay.
You should, and then so in December I would probably get on the agenda for the select board as well in their January session. We could do it all in December, but it tends to be difficult to get quorums and meetings and over the holidays, and
Yep.
we might be just a little premature in the development of all the specifications to make the call on what needs to be
Yeah,
proprietary.
no, that's why I was just trying to plan out so we know where we got a target for
Yep.
as we're coming up here.
Just through the chair, quick question on that. So I understand proprietary. you want company X because the town already has company X. But is there a provision in there that allows for company Y to bid, which has a much lower cost system, but they're equivalent and they work the same in conjunction with X's, integrates with their computers and whatnot?
So we can, so another way, so this is like, I call it the backdoor approach to proprietary specifications. We can write an open spec that says, this is the way that we want the system to function. These are all the things that we want to go into it. This is our basis of design, manufacturer X. And then we roll the dice. Chances are, 9 times out of 10, the bidders are going to give us what we provided as a basis of design. They may provide a substitution. We'll have that price. Once we have it, we can say, all right, you know what, this system is good enough. We're okay with it. Or we'll look at it and say, this doesn't meet our needs. There's some challenges with this. We can then ask for a change order in the cost difference to go to the more expensive one that is the proprietary. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is we write an open spec. And when I say open, that means that it's open, not proprietary. That's so restrictive in certain aspects of it that it backdoors you into a specific manufacturer. For example, building management systems sometimes will write into the spec that it needs to be an open source protocol building management system. What that means is the town retains the rights to do their own programming and updates to the software. That typically is the way that you get out of getting Simplex for your fire alarm system. So there's a number of ways to go about it, but it's going to be system by system that we need to do that.
Yeah, it just seems like nowadays in technology, a lot of those industries are required to speak the same language as or they're willing to write, an API to allow their technology to talk to this technology.
Some of the benefits to the town of sticking with a single vendor is that you have the service and maintenance contract.
Yeah.
So if you go so video surveillance was the first one that came up. All of the cameras and the whole system across the entire town is one vendor.
Mm-hmm.
And so you would just be adding additional cameras to an existing service contract and you would get efficiencies of scale in that.
Sure.
If you had a second vendor in that's compatible, you've got a service contract on just the fire station and then a service contract on the rest of the town, and that's you won't come out ahead, I guess, in the deal.
For another example, we did Shrewsbury. We did their access control system is proprietary because it's the same throughout the entire town for all their municipal buildings. So it allowed them to have better control over it. Lexington, all of the HVAC systems are all Mitsubishi. It's the only, and we got this one heat pump. It's on all of our buildings. Filter changes, maintenance. It all just makes it a lot cheaper and easier for them.
But on that note, Mitsubishi is probably not the one you're bidding with. You're going to end up with Acme HVAC versus now what's his name? HVAC also sells Mitsubishi. They're same.
Yeah.
They both could bid on that because it's the same technology. But one could write a service contract, say we're going to do the service for the entire Mitsubishi.
Yeah. So it comes down to the maintenance parts, all that stuff. Up there in Lexington, it was specific for Mitsubishi because of how one for maintenance, but two how all their buildings are electric heat pumps, and their heat pumps specifically are designed to operate at colder temperatures more effectively than other manufacturers. So there was a performance aspect to it. For example, some video surveillance systems we write out of our specs because they're made in China, and China retains some rights to be able to access those. So there's a lot of police stations throughout the U.S. where the Chinese government could hack into their cameras in the police stations pretty easily. Want to avoid some of those kind of pitfalls?
Do we have any restrictions about items on the state bid list?
No. Well, so when we're talking about the public bid component of it, the contractor's just buying that stuff on their own.
The state has a.
But in terms of the state bid list, that's where we're going to get a majority of the FF&E off of.
Okay.
We'll get. So, for example, like if you went to the state bid list and went to the MHEC or something like that and bought a generator, you're probably going to get better pricing through the public bid for the generator than you would get for the preferred negotiated pricing on the state bid list.
Really?
Yeah. Just because the economy of scale of an electrician buying all that equipment together.
I've found the opposite, okay, but there's much smaller scale.
Yeah. Yeah, but for example, furniture, it's easier to do it that way. But when you're getting to building system components on a large construction, it tends to be more economical to have it all sort of rolled up into that bid package.
That's all I wanted to bring up. Okay. Any other comments, questions? All right. Last item is another public comment session. No public is here, so we move on. So we've got tentative next date is November 17th at 6 o'clock. We'll let you know
Location
TBD. See if it does work out or not. So other than that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Matt and Connor.
Thank you.